started Derake in, I believe it was June of 2022. And my goal was to basically build a Derake chopper with a turbo. My mom actually worked on cars as I was growing up. Like, she would, just based on not having enough money to send it somewhere and have it done. I think my mom set an example for me because she didn't do that for a living. Like, I just saw it, and I saw that, like, you don't have to buy new stuff, or you can always make something work just with a little bit of elbow grease. My name is Nick Rutherford. Born and raised St. Louis, Missouri. I started NightFall Customs in 2019, and I don't really consider myself a chopper or motorcycle builder, more of a metal fabricator. Definitely less of a mechanic. Like, I can pick up on stuff, but I lean more towards the metal fabrication, and I've done that for, I don't know, 5 years or so, 6 years, and finally bought a plasma table in 2019, and that's whenever I started the LLC, NightFall Customs, and I'm hoping to get to the point to where I build a bike or two for guys to take to shows or whatever. My mom actually worked on cars as I was growing up. Like, she would, just based on not having enough money to send it somewhere and have it done. So she would buy a manual, go through the manual and pull the carburetor out. I'd come home and there'd be a carburetor for like a Chrysler Cordova on our kitchen table and a million pieces. And she'd take it apart and rebuild it and put it back together. And I think that, part of that, and then going into the electrical trade, I'm an electrician full time. I'm always wrenching or building something or wiring something, or and then I bought a Harley in 2016, and I built the sissy bar for it, and just a set of bars, and that right there kind of pushed me into metal fabrication. And then guys like Christian Sosa, I saw the stuff he was doing, and that just drove me more towards hand built stuff, and that's just kept going with it. I went to South Tech for high school, and my sophomore year was like it was like a tech school, basically. That sophomore year, you like picked if you wanted to do automotive or machining or electrical or any building trades or anything like that. And I remember in my sophomore year, I built a go-kart frame, and as I was building it, I was like, it's not too bad, not too hard to build this thing. But then we got to like the wiring on it, and that was like something I was like, just knew nothing about. And then we did a little HVAC and did some wiring in that, and it just seemed like the wiring part of it sparked my interest. And then junior year and senior year, you had to pick like one elective that you stuck with. And so I did 2.5 hours a day. It was electrical work. And then my senior year, we did a skills competition. I think it's called Skills USA. And you had to like wire a wall, bend some pipe, do a test. And I won that. And then they gave me a scholarship for an electrical trade school. And so I kind of just stuck with it, and then finally got in the union, and I'm a union electrician. And I've been doing it for about going on 16 years now. So it's been a good trade, good occupation. So I started riding four-wheelers in high school. It wasn't wasn't too early in my life that I got into it. I think I was like 15, bought a four-wheeler and started riding four-wheelers all the time. And then shortly after that, I think I was like right out of high school and bought a Yamaha R6 and started doing like street bikes, like stunts and stuff like that, and wrecked it many times. And then I'd have to fix it and wrench on it. And I think I ended up wrecking the R6 so bad that I had to total it out basically, and then got a Kawasaki 636 and cut up all the fairings and painted it and made brackets and 12 o'clock bars for it. And so I started on street bikes, and that's kind of where I got the motorcycle thing from. And then all of my friends rode street bikes, and I finally ended up buying a Harley, and I was like, everybody gave me shit for like riding a Harley. And now all those guys ride Harleys. So it was a 2016 Harley Breakout. It just had a stage 1 and was completely stock. And the bars are all kind of a lower stance bar, and I wanted something a little higher. And I was actually going to hire a guy locally named Fish to build the set of bars for me. And I went over to his house, and he was just too swamped to do the work. And he kind of talked me through how he would make them. And they have like a long sweep, 1.25-inch tube to them. And he's like, I would just make a wood form and kind of brace it at one end and bend the tube around the wood form. So I went home and did it, and I picked up on it really easy, and I just kept going with it. Later on, I just built the sissy bar for it. And that was more for the wife, just so she was more comfortable on it. And since then, I've just done little parts for guys, like whether it be foot control brackets or wheelie bars or handlebars or just little cutout parts. I started Derake in, I believe it was June of 2022. And my goal was to basically build a Derake chopper with a turbo. And you never see the turbo up underneath the neck of the bike. I've always seen it either on the side or under the seat. So that's kind of what drove me to go that route. Since then, I've actually seen it several times. From there, the gas tanks were just kind of like an idea. I just took a piece of welding wire and stuck it up there and thought the shape looked good on it, and built 2 halves, welded it together. And I actually drew out how I wanted to do the oil tank. I wanted it to be a section of the gas tank. And I've never seen that. I've seen it split tanks where it was gas and oil split right down the middle, but never just a little section. So that was something I just went with as well. So I actually built another bike in the past, like maybe 5 years ago. And I traded that bike for an FXS lowrider Shovelhead 1981. And so I stripped that bike down and took the frame and basically made a frame jig with it. So that was all my mounting points, my engine and transmission points, and the neck and everything. And then I basically wanted to go up with it, and I went up 9.5 on the front end and 3/4 of an inch out. So it's It's not stretched very much. And then the single down tube was part of it that I thought looked pretty cool. Made it kind of a tough looking chopper rather than just the 2 down tubes. The turbo I mounted up underneath the neck and used the neck gusset as the mounting bracket for the turbo. So the motor is a 1981 Shovelhead. Taylor Motor House actually did all the internal work on it. He put a low compression cam, forged KB pistons. Everything has been gone through it, valve job, everything has been completely done. He stripped it down and had a company local here actually chemically dip it, and then he painted it gray, that engine gray color. So every Derake I've ever seen, there's a huge gap above the motor. And I've almost not steered away from that, but in the past I've always been something needs to go there. So that's kind of what drove me to put the turbo up there, just to fill that space. The turbo is a draw through setup. Originally I wanted to do a blow through setup, but it's there's a lot more to it. You got to have a fuel pump and a fuel pressure regulator, and this way you basically draw air through the carburetor and then gas goes through the turbo. The turbo has to have a special seal put into it. It's a carbon seal. And it's less technical this way, but I think the tuning is probably a little bit more complicated with getting the carb set up right with the jetting and everything. The carburetor mounting bracket, I actually used a trailer hitch tow ball to basically flare the end and in my shop press, and just kind of flared it out like a velocity stack to create an adapter to go from 2 3/8 down to 2 inch for the opening of the turbo. I basically welded that to the turbo with a mounting bracket for the S&S carburetor. And then out of there, originally I had a boot on the end of the intake tube that went straight into the motor. And every time the carburetor would close, that rubber silicone boot would collapse and suck in. So I ended up having to hard pipe that part of the intake tube. So that was part of kind of dialing it in, and that was actually after Cycle Showcase. So another issue that I had on the bike is the turbo drain. I had kind of going uphill to the oil tank, and it wouldn't drain properly. So I actually reached out to Max Hazen and CT Newman, and those guys gave me a lot of help with routing it down into the case. So I had to drill and tap the case and run the turbo drain down into the case, and had to reroute my oil feed as well to kind of to clean that up and dry out the system a little bit because it was wet sumping. All of the exhaust I built out off of mandrel bends. So I just bought mandrel bends and then I would cut them up. And I kind of just would tack them in different places to try to get it to where I thought looked good. And I kind of wanted all of the exhaust to be on the opposite side of the bike and then have it come back off of the turbo back to the other side that you normally see it on. The open primary is a Tech Cycle Performance primary. It's all 1.5 inch belt drive. The transmission is a Baker 6 4 transmission, kickstart with electric start. Electric start is also Tech Cycle Performance. The foot controls, I basically machined everything out of DOM tubing and some brass for the bushings, and then plasma cut the pedals and TIG welded everything with a little NFC NightFall Customs inside the pedal. And they're just painted with a Harley engine paint and baked in my oven in my house. The toe pegs I machined from some purple acrylic, along with the hand grips and the valve stems and some end caps on the tubes underneath the seat. It's all like a purple iris acrylic material. All the sheet metal, all the tins I handmade. The fender I handmade. I put like a little, very simple details in the fender, just one little bead roll underneath the seat on the left side of it. And then did a little ducktail at the end. The gas tanks and the oil tank I made all out of 16 gauge steel, and shaped it all, and wanted to put the oil tank in a different location than underneath the seat like you normally see on choppers. My front end is a lead sled 21-inch Invader that he specially made for me. It's an 1.25 inch tube instead of 1 inch, like I think he sells at Lowbrow. The tubes are 39 millimeter front end, the bare knuckle performance triple trees. I bought the lowers off of eBay and shaved them down on the lathe. Got rid of all the fender brackets, all the front brake brackets. And at the time, I ordered the lead sled wheel with a front brake bracket, and I ended up having to plasma cut the bracket off and then machining that bracket off to run the no front brake. And then there's CCE down tubes, and then I handmade the bars. The headlight is just an old eBay special. The rear wheel is a lead sled Invader as well. It's special built with, it's like a dual 1.25 inch spoke Invader. And the rear brake is just the stock Harley Softail caliper that I made the mounts for on the frame. And then I put in machined some wheel hubs, and so the axle and everything's kind of hidden in there. And then made some caps with Derake on them and some purple plexiglass behind it. And in the wheel hub, I actually 3D printed the taillights and epoxied the LED like diodes into them, and then just soldered that into the wiring basically for the bike. Yeah, the sissy bar I custom made. I just wanted something like a little higher, not crazy high, but just an average height. And then the seat pan and everything I handmade, 16 gauge steel as well. And Rich Phillips, which is a local guy here, everybody knows that guy, he's amazing, did the leather work and wrapped it, and then did some purple and silver stitching. I picked the colors because purple, it's like purple and gray are actually a couple of my favorite colors. And I got a hold of Lee at Pyrotech Cycles over in Alton, Illinois. And I told him, I was like, I'm going to bring my tins to you, but they got to be done for Cycle Showcase 2023. And he's like, all right, you better hurry up and get it here. And so I brought it to him, and I just told him that I wanted gray and purple. And I was like, I'm just going to let you do your thing. And he took it away. I killed it.
Hey guys, want to take a second and talk about Speed Dealer Performance. You guys will remember Frank from an interview we did a few months back on his incredible FXR. Today, specifically, I want to talk about their line of swing arms for FXR, Bagger, and Dyna. These things are incredibly well engineered and put together. Recently just had one installed in my Bagger. Huge improvement, not only in looks, but also in performance with added rigidity at the rear end and a lot of weight reduction. This swing arm is made from 6061 T6 aluminum. There's no weld, they're machining a solid piece. All the components are made of stainless steel, so you're reducing weight over the stock swing arm by 17 pounds, so a huge weight reduction. The axle is 4130 chrome moly tubing. You get oversized bearings up front, axle adjusters and safety wire. You also have race jacks, which is a super nice feature. You have 3 shock positions, and you can run up to 14-inch shocks on the position that's furthest forward. You get a billet caliper mount, so it's machined, not welded. 25 millimeter axle hole, 108 millimeter bolt spread for your caliper. As you can see, these swing arms are a huge improvement, not only in looks, but also in performance. I'll include all the Speed Dealer's information in the description below. If you've got questions or anything like that, make sure you reach out to them, tell them I sent you. Let's get back to it.
So I got the bike finished like February 9th of 23, and I had to get it up to Cycle Showcase like the 11th. And I think I got it up there that Friday, which was the 10th. And I had just a blank ignition cover on it. And I think it was just chrome, and it just didn't do the bike justice. So I came home Friday, and then I was like, oh, what's more St. Louis than a Derake chopper? And like 3D printed a STL symbol and then sand casted the points cover and took it up there that Friday and put it on. I think the only thing I'm probably going to change on it is the kick pedal. I'll probably end up sand casting something NightFall Customs and putting a new kicker pedal on it. And I'm taking it to Sturgis this year. We're just going to trailer the bike up and then hopefully ride it around up there, throw it in a couple shows. Yeah, one future project I have coming is in old Ironhead Sportster. I actually just picked up like an engine and a rolling chassis for super cheap off of a buddy. And I'll probably dive into that here pretty soon. Don't know what route I want to go yet. I don't know if I want to do like a tracker or chopper or what kind of style I want to go with yet. But yeah, the next project is going to be that Ironhead. Yeah, I'm pretty much into any motorcycle. Like if it looks good, it looks good. Like doesn't matter the style to me. There's been some really, really cool street bikes that I've seen out there that I think are amazing. And stuff that like Maxwell Hazen is doing is incredible. Like that kind of low profile. I don't even know what you'd call his style, but it's amazing. Yeah, if anybody needs any metal fabrication work, like I've built entry gates, I've built motorcycle parts, I've built kitchen like backsplashes, signs, like machining work, any welding work. If anybody needs anything, I can pretty much figure it out at least. It might take a couple tries, but I'll get it done. I'm Nick Rutherford. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri with NightFall Customs. Thanks for watching.